feminist literary criticism. The feminist literary criticism goes hand in hand with the queer theory, which states that one is identified by their appearance and gender, and they're treated as such in society when it comes to literary works as well and their writing. But with the feminist literary criticism, it expands more on the role of women, female and their status in the world, and their literature works that they write, and basically how they're treated overall based on their gender alone. It's also concerned with how literature can undermine the economic, political, social, and psychological women in that manner. And it's also intent on how everything is male dominated and the female is not really worthy or important or as capable as men when it comes to physical labor, raising a household, basically doing any activity. They're more of like a delicate stance. An example that was stated by Tyson, which was perhaps the most chilling one in his words, is found in the world of modern medicine, where drugs prescribed for both sexes often have been tested on male subjects only. So this is basically saying if a male's to take their prescription, they know like the risks that they're taking, but women don't because their hormones haven't been tested with the prescription to know the outcomes and the possibilities of them. The feminist literary criticism is also concerned with less obvious forms of marginalization, like such as women are more excluded from having their books published or movies based on what it's about. They expect it to be related to children's and like simple-minded. They basically compare women and children on the same bottom hierarchy comparable to men. So it's actually been stated that men believe that children's literature is written best by women because it's simple, it's basic, it's geared towards simple-minded. So there's really no like historical point of view. Now there are three waves of feminism that have started since the 18th century all the way through today. So the first wave started in 1700s and it lasted until about the 1900s. The goal of it was to just highlight the inequalities and obtain the right to vote. So three famous women during this time period was Mary B. Wollstonecraft, who I actually read about in women's literature, and she wrote an excerpt on women's rights. And at the time, that was a no-no. Like, you don't speak your mind and how you feel. You basically run the household. Then there was Susan B. Anthony and Victoria Woodhull, who helped to contribute having the 19th Amendment created, which was granting the women the right to vote. And this was very important as it gave women an ability to voice their opinion. So, along with the Mary B. Wollstonecraft, it made women feel like they had a power and authority to write about what they wish, not just simple-minded things. So then, moving along to the 1960s and 1970s, which considered the second wave of feminist literary criticism, is where the political activism took place during World War II, and women utilized their freedom of speech even more to get on the political stances. The third and final wave of feminism started in the 1990s, and it's current what we have today. And it's much more broad and expanded on everything. It's about lesbian and gay rights and sexual orientation and gender equality. This is more going into the queer theory. Basically, women, like redefining the word of feminism and what it's really about. Is it just about women, or is it all inequalities based on gender, race, orientation, everything? Disabilities. So how does this all come into play within children's literature? Just to touch up a little bit more on what I was stating a little bit earlier is, women are more often than not the authors of children's literature, and this, is basically accepted or expected by men because they feel that they're both simple-minded and if it came to like a historical event or something like that, they wouldn't quite understand it as a male would, maybe one who went into war or such. But you do find today that women do write much more in depth than just a folk or fairy tale as they did before in children's literature. And, definitely shows that it's not just geared towards children anymore. It may seem like a children's book, but it's entertainment to adults as well. Such as my book that I chose from a research project. It talks about war and children in the book, and I enjoyed it so much that I'm thinking about going to get the sequel just because I enjoyed it that much. So times have definitely changed, and we've come a long way, but I think there's still a long way that we need to go. And, that's about it. That sums up the feminist literary criticism. Like I said, I feel like we've come a long way, but I feel like there's a ways to go because still in our Disney movies today that I see, the women always seems to just be the, oh, save me, like the princess. She's either trying to be killed by her wicked evil stepmother and this prince comes along and tries to save her, or she's locked away. But then you turn and you see Cinderella, who worked a very physical laboring by her evil stepmother, but her sisters were treated as dainty and everything, and Cinderella wasn't worthy of going to the ball, and in the end she ended up being the princess to be. One of my favorite movies, Shrek, is where Fiona, the protagonist, is an ugly ogre underneath of a princess cast spell to make her suitable for Prince Charming. And long story short, at the end of it, she doesn't make it in time before magic wears off, and she ends up becoming an ogre in front of Prince Charming, and she was no longer good enough for him. Whereas the ogre Shrek loved her no matter what way she looked like. So it just kind of goes to show that sometimes women have to be something that they're not to be good enough to be equal. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please, if you have any questions, post below. Thank you very much.